at high speed, be historically relevant, and achieve compelling quality vision. My promise today is that by end of this session, we will together derive the quality vision and means by which we can achieve it. All I need is active participation from you, answer a few simple questions. We'll start with the first two slides. Please go through the slides carefully and then see if you can spot any key messages. I'll pause for a few seconds. Slide 2. Okay, I see some smiling faces. I see some people in agony. Okay, it was for a short moment though, but would like to know if you could spot any key messages from these two. Anything that you can read from this, derive from this? Okay. Any other views? Okay, in case it wasn't obvious, these slides talk about some key exits of some key people from key positions in their organizations. Almost all of them were in the roles of a CEO, a CIO, CTO, or maybe heads of sales, product, VP technology, CFOs, etc. But the most important thing is most of them had a background either in finance, technology, marketing, sales, legal, so much so that we even had people from operations, right? But none from quality profession. Let's look at the background of Fortune 100 CEOs. This is a global Fortune 100 list, right? Most of them, if you see, are from finance, operations, and legal and other things, but not from quality. Maybe you can say, okay, it's hiding in the other thing. But if you look at maybe the list of Fortune 100 or top 50 IT companies, you may not even see the column for others where you may say, okay, somebody from quality might be hiding out there. From past few years, these kind of questions have been echoing in my mind, and I've been trying to poignantly ponder and see what could be wrong in our profession, or what could be wrong in our thought process because of which we are actually seeing a gap in this, right? I actually spoke to multiple thought leaders and stalwarts in the industry, poured over countless books and articles, spoke to a lot of CIOs and CTOs in my network and try and debate what could be the missing piece in our quest for quality because of which we are not seeing something happening in there, right? So what was the missing link? Two obvious questions that we got was, could there be a limitation in our people's ability, or could be a limitation in our profession because of which we are not able to go beyond a point, right? I don't agree with the first point because we see a lot of people from our fraternity who have actually built a successful and strong products and companies. So is there a value in the second question where we said, could there be a limitation in our profession? Maybe there is some opportunity for that, but I take a different note of that. So is it really a limitation in our profession, or is it a self-inflicted misery because of the limitations in our mindset? Right? So having gone through elaborate cognitive reflection, I came up with a model which I believe when you implement rightly, right, you will not only achieve compelling quality vision, but it will also enable us to be excitingly relevant and can stand the test of time. The model is called CQA, right? We'll get into each of these pieces and also arrive at the quality vision. So the model CQA should enable us to actually achieve compelling quality vision. The C in the model CQA stands for conscious. What should we be conscious about? For ages, we have always been conscious about quality. Could there be a gap in our consciousness? Before we get into these things, are there any Formula One fans here? Anybody who watch Formula One games? I'm not going to ask you difficult questions. I'm not going to ask you how Hamilton lost the last game and the championship for Nico Rosberg. Yeah, okay, quite a few of people, right? So you saw your hand, right? Look at this picture, right? I mean, you see the pit stop in 1950 versus 2013, right? And the first one is on my left is from 1950 Indianapolis match in which Bill Holland took 67 seconds at the pit stop. Now compare this to the second one in which the Ferrari racer, I think it was Fernando, 2013 Melbourne race, he took just 2 seconds. Imagine just 2 seconds from the time the car stops, the wheels get changed, gets necessary fixes, and it bolts away. Right? Just 2 seconds. The only difference between these two is that the first one had a refueling, but the second one did not have that. But even without refueling, the times of 7 seconds or more was very, very common in the Formula One racing. Right? So the similarity between pit stop and quality efforts is that it has always existed as a something that existed and then went about going its way, it's going its job, but without any special focus or attention from the management or anybody, right? But when this consciousness descended to them, saying that, yeah, when you save a few seconds, everything else being common between different teams, if you save a few seconds in a pit stop, it directly results in a business outcome. Look at the time differences between these two different positions, right? I mean, this is from the latest race in 2016 Abu Dhabi race. It's usually a second. In the top, it's second or even a fraction of a second. Right? So when we have an advantage, it directly results in the final outcome wherein we end up winning a race. Right? This, in fact, resulted in an adage in motorsport called races are won in the pits. So when this consciousness descended on key stakeholders and the strategy makers in Formula One racing, they started focusing a lot on pit stop. What can we do at pit stop so that things can be much, much faster, efficient, and consistent too? Because it can make a great deal in the end outcome of the results, right? So then they adapted a model called pit stop driven design and development, right? We all have heard about TDD, BDD, and all this stuff. The Formula One racers may be able to relate to this. It's called pit stop driven development. In fact, if you look at the number of crew, okay, in the first pick, it was just 4 people in the pit stop crew. Then it actually went up to 20, right? When you talk about the industry, if you relate to the dev to tester ratio, right? If it goes from, let's say, 1:4 to 1:20, you'll see a lot of heads rolling. Today, we don't even talk about 4 developers to 1 tester or 8 developers to 1 tester. We're talking about something totally different, right? So the question is, what made people accept PDD and why did pit stop achieve so much of prominence? What do you infer from this? I requested for active participation. What do you think the management, everybody related to Formula One actually started focusing on pit stop? Because it was as simple as quality efforts the way we used to see. I'm sorry? Okay, that's one. 1 person at a time, please. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, great. So to make things very simple, the reason is it directly resulted in the customer value or business outcome, right? Any efficiency that is built in pit stop can be related to the business outcome, right? So the process of being conscious has to be beyond quality. We have always been quality conscious, but it has been restricted to things like, okay, because we are quality conscious, we prevent the buggy releases, we actually reduce the number of defects, but it can extend beyond that to actually relate to a customer value and customer experiences, right? So be conscious about customer value and customer experience with deeper customer insight. Right? Many a times we release the product, we release the features, but we don't know how it has helped a customer. It could be our direct stakeholders, or it could be the end customers, whether in a B2C market or a B2B market. Right? So we need to have this customer insight, but how do we get to do this? One way is to actually go and visit the customers, see how things are done, how it is, get some survey and stuff like that. Other way is to use some user analytics tool, right? We have the likes of Google Analytics, Mixpanel, which can actually give you a detailed customer insight in the likes of, let's say, the usage, user persona, usage patterns, the demographics, the likes of the demographics in terms of the age, gender, the customer interest and affinity. What do they like? What do they dislike? What language? What location? How many of my users are new? How many are from returning? What is the burn ratio, burn rate or a bounce rate? What technology stack do they use? What devices, what browser, what OS? Because all these things will help us to say, okay, how can we make some benefit? Maybe it is helping somebody on this stack, on this browser, but not others. So this detailed customer insight will help us big time. Not just that, depending on your pages and module, it will also give the information in terms of who is spending on what page, how much of time is spent, what is the page load time on each of these pages, depending on different browsers and stack, and things like that, right? I'll quickly go through a few of these slides. It's about the screenshot that we had from the Google Analytics, the demographics, customer affinity, devices, the browsers. One key insight was we had a similar thing where we felt that the performance or a page load time in a Chrome browser is much, much faster than a Firefox, right? Especially this is more pronounced in a Linux OS than a Windows OS. So without making any changes, if somebody can shift their browsers from Firefox to Chrome, it actually results in 30-40% of performance. Then we can go deeper into that, right? This is pretty impressive, right? Makes a lot of sense with little effort. But how much effort does it take to actually get this kind of insight? Right? Don't even fret over this. It's as simple as, if you're using Google Analytics, it's as simple as these lines of code. Sign up with Google Analytics. They give you a tracking code. Replace that in the way where I, darken the data. Use this in all your pages, and you're ready to go. You get all these customer insights at the click of a button. You go to googleanalytics.com, you'll get all these things available. So the business outcome, in general, we always fight, saying that, okay, we're going to automate, we have to do this, we have to do that, but nobody listens to us, right? Convert all your goals, all your thoughts and intentions to the business outcome. Few goals that I spoke about, look at this. For example, if you say, I want to automate, nobody probably relates to it. If they don't relate to it, they won't agree to it. You say, if I automate, I can cut down my release time by 2 weeks, people will relate to it, right? Start thinking in terms of a customer value and customer experiences. So the first part of the quality vision, focus on providing customer value. Right? So this is the beginning of it. We'll extend it further. QV equals CV. Speed without quality or quality without speed has lost its significance. I don't think anybody will say, okay, give me speed, but I don't care about the quality, or vice versa. Anybody disagrees with this? Right. Yeah. So this brings us to the second part of the CQA model, in which Q stands for quality engineering and quality intelligence. So we said we have to provide customer value, but how much customer value can we provide just on our own? Right? We need to get the whole organization, all the teams, engineering, product, customer support, everybody aligned towards providing customer value. Right? But is it good enough? Let's look at what quality engineering is before we get into more details. Right? I'll give you two simple versions. One is this, wherein we say testing is a subset or a part of a quality assurance, and quality assurance is part of a quality engineering, but it doesn't stop there. Quality engineering is for the whole organization, not just for a QA team that we traditionally know. Look at the Iceberg model, in which, let's say, if you're talking about efficiency, talking about customer value, we probably provide a value of 10, 20, 30% on our own, but to give 100% to the customer, we need to get the whole team aligned towards it, so that we provide great customer value. Not just customer value, we should ask questions if you are providing that at optimal time, cost, and efficiencies. I'll give you a few examples wherein we have a different thought process from a traditional QA mindset to the QV mindset. A QV will make the whole organization accountable for customer value, efficiency, and quality. Right? They just don't talk about identifying defects. They'll work with the whole engineering team and see how I can predict and prevent defects from coming into picture. We will end up identifying and creating and tracking all engineering mandates. It's just not the QA mandate. It's not about automation coverage or whatever it is. It's about engineering mandates, right? From the tech debt, the code complexity, the architectural debt, the automation, code coverage, and things like that. We have to start thinking about it and track it to actually achieve this. We always talk about shift left and shift right testing. We know we are multidimensional thinkers, but let's not stop there. Because if we just leave here, it's not going to help. We are still talking about test engineering aspects. We're not talking about quality engineering. We've got to think about shift above and shift below also, right? Look at the customer side of it. Look at the architectural side of things. Look at the design patterns. Look at the technology architecture stack. See if it is being built for performance, scalability, reliability, deployability, and all those stuff, right? And enable your product to actually measure the customer user behavior. The ones I spoke about, user analytics, get into those aspects. Right? And I saw a few posters yesterday that talk about performance engineering, which is the right way to approach. You can't just talk about performance testing. Yesterday in few sessions also we spoke about, okay, people are still relying on traditional commercial performance tools. We have to get going beyond that, right? Think about in terms of performance engineering, which includes but not restricts to testing, analysis, tuning. Work closely with the developers, engineering team, and then see how I can actually build a performant and scalable application or a product. And how do we actually go through that? So next step, don't even stop about traditional tools. Look at the tools like APM tools. We have Dynatrace, New Relic, App Dynamics, SolarWinds, which will actually give you a detailed insight in terms of where there is a performance problem, how do we identify the bottleneck and clean things up. You can actually do testing in production in this manner, or you can set up your own test environment and simulate the users. Okay, out of the box thinking for automation frameworks. How many of you know Selenium framework, heard about it, Kudipy framework? Okay. I think everybody, okay, hands down. How many of you heard about Gauge framework? Robo framework? No, quite a few. Redwood HQ? These are all simple and open source frameworks available. Hit their websites, hit a GitHub in which you have actually extended these frameworks. Even if you're a novice in automation, you can get started in day one. Why do we have to invest a month or 2 months of effort in building up the whole framework and then start testing it? You can get this going in a month's time, and in a day's time. Sorry about that. Get rid of automation coverage. Even if you have 100% automation coverage, I don't know if it can even give you 50% code coverage. Right? Focus on code coverage rather than automation coverage. Right? See where the gap is. Even if you have automated everything, the code coverage is 70%. I know there is something wrong. Either I don't have a test case to that, or I have some unused code which is there in my source code. Right? So get rid of that. So another discussion these days stops without DevOps, right? So we know DevOps helps us in continuous integration, deployment, and delivery and all. But why do we restrict there? Work with the engineers, development engineers, DevOps engineers to actually create tools which can improve the dev and QA productivity. Right? So when you talk about quality engineering, you have common goals. You start working towards it. Use your strength, use the strength of your team members, and get towards that. Right? So extending the quality vision, we said it provides customer value. Now we have to say it has to be provided at great speed and efficiently, right? So QV becomes QV equals CV at speed and efficiency. The future belongs to those who challenge the present. We know, yeah, we have to provide customer value. We will work with everybody in engineering and product, customer support, to actually provide value with great efficiency and speed. But what stops us? We all know that we don't get enough support across organizations. Maybe I may be lucky enough to work with such an engineering team. They understand. Maybe I'm able to translate it. We work towards that. But there are a lot of organizations where they don't even relate it. Decisions are made on top and you just execute it. We don't even have a say. Budgets are all frozen. Things are done and dusted. You just execute it. So you always have a limitation in terms of how do we actually get the support of the leadership team. So this brings us to the A of the CQA model, which talks about advocacy. Right? So when we change our paradigms in the organization, we actually change the possibilities of things that we never imagined to be possible. Right? So when the whole organization actually talks about this, and they're focusing on one goal of providing great customer value and service, right? We end up creating something called force multiplier effect, right? Wherein the effort is this, but again, the outcome is 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, right? So the quality team will actually end up being a force multiplier, creating a force multiplier effect in the organization. And this will slowly evolve into more advisory and executive roles in the organization. Maybe you may have doubts saying that, okay, we have never seen this in the last 15 years. How will it happen now? Let's go back a few years ago, right? If you look at the traditional executive roles that we see today, the CFOs, CIOs, and things like that, it actually had a humble existence many, many years ago. Early 1960s, finance teams had just finance managers. All they did was go about bookkeeping, tracking the budget, tax reporting, and it existed as a back office office, right? But in later part of 1970s and 1978, when Organizations grew globally, M&As increased, right? It needed sophisticated focus on that, and that's when the CFOs came into work, right? They started working with C-suite leaders and being a financial advisor than just a financial controller. Same is the case with IT, right? In early 1970s, 80s, we just had IT teams. But when people started using internet, started using desktops across the organizations, right? Then there was a need for CIOs in the organization so that they actually get the technology to help things better, to make things faster, to automate things. So CIOs came into existence. Same is the case with Chief Information Security Officer. They existed as data managers, QA managers who took some additional roles. But when security became a pretty important one, we actually start having CISO, right? We have been test managers, QA managers. We may call with fancy designations, VP, director, whatnot, but we never have anybody like a chief quality officer in software industry. We have it in healthcare, we have it in mission critical defense applications and things like that. We don't have it in IT. At least I've never seen across the world where I've worked, right? We never see chief quality officer. But if we apply the quality vision and actually end up being a force multiplier, I'm sure you will start seeing CQO in the next few years, right? But it's important that we actually do things in a best possible manner so that they see a value in this and you can get 2x, 3x from the organization, right? So the goal, my dear friends, is not about having a title of a chief executive, chief quality officer or somebody. That's not the goal. The goal is actually to give our best. If you talk about the Maslow's laws of hierarchy, right? We have been doing well. We have been doing very good in test engineering. But what is the next step? Self-actualization. Can we actually get better than that and have a voice among the C-suite so that they actually relate the value that we could provide? So when we provide that value, we can actually enable the organization to move from good to great, QA to QE, right? These are the steps, small q to big Q, a CQA to CQO. So as I promised, the quality vision should be to provide utmost value to customers and be a force multiplier by establishing a culture of quality. By that I mean quality at speed and quality at efficiency across organization by adopting a scalable and reliable model. Before I end, I just want to give you just two pictures. You can relate it the way you want. It's an open-ended picture. I can relate it to the topic, but I want you guys to think through and then say, does it make sense? The value to customers, quality engineering, efficiency and speed, and then the advocacy part of it, right? Does it make sense? So, any questions, inputs? You can give the titles to me a little later. Yeah. Sorry? Oh, yeah, see, a lot of world-class organizations have this clear quality vision. Even if you talk about the Googles and likes of it, they actually focus on quality, and the quality is the whole company's mandate, accountability. It's not about the tester or somebody. Somebody actually represents it, but it is not just that. You cannot achieve great quality if they don't even do, let's say, unit testing, right? You may have a huge QA organization doing a lot of testing, but if you have, let's say, unit test automated, you can save a lot of value. You can save a lot of effort, right? So a lot of organizations are doing in bits and pieces. There are a lot of organizations which are doing in end-to-end. We may not have advocacy part of it, but definitely the C and Q is definitely there.
So my question is towards about advocacy.
Advocacy is not there as far as I've seen, but it's there in the culture. But if you make it as an advocacy, I mean, you make it as an advisor role, then everybody starts taking it up, right? Today, we don't even represent our thoughts in the C-suite or in the decision makers, let's say the decision maker chambers, right? They come based on whatever they know, okay, Google is doing this, okay, Microsoft is doing this, can we do this? That's it. But if you make it as create a quality vision, create a quality framework, and demonstrate that this is the value you get, and then let's not forget about the force multiplier effect, right? If you actually show this, then people will say, oh, let's go and get it. One different thought I would probably say is, at least in last 1 month, because of the demonetization, right? All these payments company, they are looking for senior quality engineering leaders. I would have at least got 10 calls from these guys, which they never thought through earlier. They thought, okay, I do this, I exist. Today they're saying there's importance for quality engineering, passionate quality engineering people who can spread that knowledge and vision of quality across the organization. Yes, please.
Which compared the pit stop in
Yes.
development with the one in formulas.
Yeah.
You said that that can help you.
Can you be a little louder? I'm not able
Yeah.
to get the complete question.
Yeah, so can you give me an example of the pit stop in development as compared to the pit stops that can win races in Formula One?
Okay. So the way I'm relating it is like any successful product launches or sustenance has this similarity with F1 races because the pace of innovation, speed of delivery, focus on continuous improvements and things like that, right? But the most closest and the important commonality is pit stop with quality efforts, right? One aspect is both of them existed because they needed it. It did not have a prominence beyond a point, right? Now, even if you talk about last 5-10 years, testing has taken a lot of prominence and we are looking at shift left testing and all because they saw some value in it. Similarly, in the case in the pit stop, they saw some value saying that, yeah, you are doing your job, but actually, if I actually, let's say everybody is doing 10 seconds, if I am able to do it in 8 seconds, oh, I see, irrespective of the money I spend, I spend millions of dollars in the technology team of F1 car, the driver and everything. But if I save this fraction of a second, right, I can actually make a lot of difference. The closest race I have seen is the difference is of 108 milliseconds, the first and second. Right? Why did Lewis Hamilton lost the whole championship, although he won the last race? Right? Because the points that Nico Rosberg accrued was much, much higher than this. Even though he stood second, he got it. If he had got fourth, he would have not got it. Right? So I'm relating the simplicity and not so much of focus on the traditional QA team versus pit stop team. Pit stop team does not have that kind of a humble existence anymore. It is seen as a big thing. The one I related was like when somebody did a 1.92 or 1.89 second, everybody in the crew got a Tag Heuer watch, and it was not a fake one though. Okay.
Any question?
Yeah, hello. Yeah. I agree that quality consciousness being the key factor, but what I see in the last, not last 2 days also, but of late, is that everybody talks about the speed. Everybody takes the Formula One as the example. But if for everyone's awareness, do you know what is the amount of rehearsals being done for the pit stop? 10 months and at least 2,000 cycles. Absolutely. As test engineers, do we have the privilege of doing a rehearsal? No. We take the product and do it. So what I say is when this is seen as an example, on the contrary, it also says that we try to fix something at a later point of time rather than preventing it. Yes, the quality consciousness is agreed, but how is it seen with this very simple statement as stitch in time saves 9? So moving it much more earlier.
Yep.
Doing it as small bits.
Yep.
Small chunks. Yes, we are conscious. All your, see, I appreciate the paper, the fact that all these concepts are applicable across.
I think if I can stop you here, I get your question.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, we are looking only at the after effects. Yeah, people have been doing trials in pit stop, everything, right? But when did they put so much of rigor? Because they realize that even if I save 1/10 of a second, I can actually win a race. It could be a difference between 18 points versus 25 points in a race, right? So the rigor started coming in only when they saw this value, which is directly correlated to the outcome of the race. So you're only talking about the after effects, not the before effects, right? So even testing was not, go 10, 15 years back, at least in India, testing was not even considered. We never had a separate testing team except one or few organizations, right? When people started seeing a value, today we see that. In fact, when I started my career many years ago, I did not see anybody beyond QA manager. I had a lot of mentors who used to come and then say, if you're so smart, why are you in QA, right? Today we have a defined career path because there is so much of complexity, technology involved in testing QA and QE. So once you actually show some value, there will be focus. Today can even say, okay, I won't do any testing, we can go through that. Doesn't matter who does the testing, who does the QA, but there is requirement for that, right? Even if you have greatest developers, they still do that.
My point here was to say that yes, when we say that we have developing and we have a career path, but we forget the fundamental fact that this path could have been defined little in the earlier phases. Our path should not start from the validation, because if you see everything, there's faster automation, continuous development, automating for development, continuous builds, then regular cycles, automating for testing the regular cycles. Yes, of course, where is the focus for even the input of it?
What we are missing is we are not thinking about...
We are missing the input of it.
Yeah, we are not thinking about automating and makes things more efficient. For example, if I have to only take care of functional testing, someone else taking care of automation, performance, customer value and all this stuff, it's not going to happen, right? They may not have the luxury of having everybody in the same single team. If you're trying to automate things so that the same person or two individuals can do these multiple things and still have this multiple dimensional contributions to the team. That's where testers are valued. Today, you go to any top engineering organization, they value testers for all these things, not just for one of the aspects.
Well, I agree with your statement. I say we will be much more valued if we are emphasized in the beginning. More emphasis. As an industry, we have to give from the beginning. We speak about it.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
That is the
as well.
reason why I was raising this question is the concept is perfectly right, but the place where we fit in now is in the far end. But this should have been fit in the front.
That's where we need advocacy.
So that's the point I was
We
trying
talking
to
on the floor will not reach the top, right? You have right advocates. In fact, we should end up assuming the role of advocates, irrespective of designations or not. Then that will actually happen. I see a lot of change in last 5 years. I see a lot of change in the industry. I work with, I consult with, I talk to a lot of startups as well. They see a lot of value. Right? Today they don't get just freshers and see some dummy testing. No, they see value. The moment they see concept being successful, they're ready to invest in quality engineering teams. Thank you for the questions.
Thank you.